We look at landscape as habitat, as wealth, as nature, as system, as ideology, as problem, as artifact, as aesthetic. There are lots of lenses through which to look at a landscape. And based on what kind of lens, what your prejudice is, what your ideas about landscape, you're going to end up with a shopping mall or you're going to end up with a park. This is a project that began in 2003 with a proposal to create a welcoming entrance to the community, to the school across the street, to the school just a couple of blocks down Fycke Lane. This is a project in 3 phases. Phase 1 was the construction of 4 pillars, creating 2 sides of a V-shaped fence with heavy wood infill. And of course, one of the key components of this is the name Fycke. What's in a name has always been of interest to trying to reveal the history of the Teaneck Creek Conservancy. It's a Dutch word meaning a fish or animal trap. And the idea is to create a welcoming, metaphoric entrance into the Teaneck Creek Conservancy, the Fycke Lane entrance. This is a land fyke, and it shows Native Americans here with rattles made out of bones chasing deer in through this fyke. And then there are Native Americans waiting to capture them over here. The original conception was to build the first part with the armature for an artist to come later. Fortunately, we had Jane Ingram Allen, who was really the perfect artist for phase 2.
You know, when I first had the idea for this, I wanted to make a piece that would be like an entryway into this nature park. And, you know, I thought of the concept of crossing borders. You could interpret this in, you know, many, many different ways. You know, like the borders between countries or just artificial man-made lines. They change too, with wars and conquering and governments changing. And I think the idea of making a sort of natural border that will definitely change over time. Maybe dissolve, go back to nature.
A project involves students, parents, community members, educators. It gives us a full menu of participants.
And both of the art teachers have been very involved in this. And they've been involved in, you know, gathering some of the materials, and, you know, we cooked the paper pulp and beat it to a pulp with wooden hammers, and then, you know, cast the handmade paper shapes. And I think it's been an interesting process for them, because paper making is not something they usually do in the art classroom.
This project involves so many different aspects. Assessment pieces were developed to address the students, of course, but also the teachers, community members, and various people who were involved in the project.
Paper making is an ancient craft that, the story goes, was invented by some guy who was in the emperor's court, and he watched the insect like the dirt dauber, which is, you know, the original paper maker.
Oh, the green.
Yeah, we were talking about, you know, the origins of paper making and how people figured out, you know, how to do this process of taking leaves and bark and getting the plant fibers from it to make the paper.
About an hour and a half.
We cook it, and then we beat it to a pulp, and then we put it in the tub and make the paper.
Great
Yeah.
colors.
Don't tell me that. Oh, man.
The paper making process, we're using a modified Asian technique. We're using Western style molds and decals. You know, it's just a wooden frame with some screening on it. But in the process, I'm using a material called formation aid. And formation aid is a slippery, slimy liquid We add it to the tub with the water and the pulp, and it makes the mixture much smoother, and it also makes the water drain slower. To do this, some people start this way and scoop out that way. I tend to go this way and lift it up and then move.
Jane Ingram Allen is a community-based artist and a Fulbright scholar, originally from Alabama, and now lives in Taiwan for the past 6 years. Her philosophy of art, I think, perfectly melds East and West.
One of the reasons we've stayed in Taiwan is because there seems to be a lot of support for environmental art in the kind of art that I'm doing. You know, it's art that is meant to disappear in a way. It's ephemeral, and it changes over time. You know, the grant that we got for this project was from the Geraldine R. Dodge Foundation, and they're a foundation here that supports projects in New Jersey that have to do with environment and art and education. So this was sort of a perfect project, I think, for that.
I'm impressed. Anybody would like to sing?
We think art should be permanent, last forever, and nothing ever does. I'm also putting seeds for northeastern wildflowers in the paper pulp so that as the paper dissolves into mulch, the seeds hopefully will sprout and grow, and there'll be wildflowers blooming there.
So as so often happens at the Teaneck Creek Conservancy with our projects, we start with one idea, paper making, which leads into the building of birdhouses and basket making and teaching and sharing skills, videography, and on into music. One thing leads into another as we share our expertise and creative energy, and the students feed all that back to us.
Hey, Mr. Toshin, look, I'm a cameraman.
Britt Brennan, who is an assistant for Jane Ingram Allen on this project, brought her considerable energy and talent. She's a student from Moore College of Art. Well, now that phase 2 is complete, we are looking forward to phase 3 of this project. The final components are a decorative crosswalk that links the Fycke Lane entrance to the middle school across the street, a low boundary wall interrupted with panels that will change, but will start off with a collaged, in-depth history of the Conservancy lands over millennia. In addition, students will be working on plaques that incorporate poetry and their own personal stories of transformation. And students working with Mr. Atoshin will be creating ceramic fish that were native to the creek, and they will be embedded in the low stone wall. It's the idea of the Teaneck Creek Conservancy: art, nature, education. It's all here.